years,
Yeah.
years. Yes. So I'm going to introduce you a little bit. You know, those who know Michael Gray is who I call the boy wonder. He doesn't age. He knows that. I've always
You're being too kind, Lenny.
He's got that same hair I met 30, almost a little less than 30 years ago. But I will say how I do get to know him. This is the key for everybody to understand. Bill Brewster, young Bill Brewster, worked at DMC in New York City before this man came to New York to introduce himself to everybody, and actually Miami. Bill Brewster says to me, I got this duo of guys, Michael Gray and John Pern, in a named Hustlers Convention, Full Intention, and I need you to play this record and work this record for me. He gives one to me, and at the time, Freddie Turner, who Michael Gray remixed, Stop Playing With My Mind, Barbara Tucker, the producer, was with me. He got a record as well. He was writing for a magazine, and I remember going, who the hell's Full Intention? Just like that. I'm like, it's really super cool, but this is pre to them. They were doing a bunch of DMC stuff, and Bill Brewster said to me, Len, mate, I need you to work their records. You know, the guys in England telling me to work it, and, you know, they're really good. And I heard when I got home, so I put it on my 1200 turntable, no MP3, vinyl, put it down. It was, I love America. I love him. I said, he did Patrick Gervais? How cheeky.
Yeah.
I said, this is slamming. I said, rest assured, I don't remember exactly what year, if it was 93, 94, I don't remember exactly, but that was my first introduction. Later on, I meet him up in Miami, him and his partner at the time, John Pern, as known, AKA Full Intention. We hang out, everything's cool. When new producers and remixers meet, it's kind of like the dating game. We're a little standoffish. We're like, you know, it's kind of like we say in a joking way, we're sizing, like bowing game ready to do a boxing match. Hey, how you doing? Good. But keeping it close to the chest, which is all good. As the years went on and the jokes went on and the drinks and the laughs and working together in the same industry, we've all become a family.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, we started out as competitive, loving, in a sense where we all wanted to be champions at what we do, but we also had major respect for everybody. So that's why I asked you to get one of my friends. He was supposed to do this last week, and I must apologize to him. I had a trifecta going on. I had Wi-Fi issues. I had computer issues. I had everything going wrong. And he sends me a message, and he says, are we still on? I'm like, no, can we do it the following week? And I'm glad we did. We did some great artwork. He provided us, and we promoted the show, and we were so happy to have him on. I would like to introduce to you one of the best people I know out of the UK, one of the best fathers I know as a father, one of the greatest remixers to come from our generation and production, one half of the production of Full Intention, no less than the other, AKA Michael Gray. One half Full Intention. Welcome to True House Stories. Thank you for doing this for us.
Build up. Thank you, Lenny. Checks in the post.
Hashed. So, as I was telling the people that are starting to tune in and everything, biggest thing for me is the beginnings of the humble beginnings. We know you were born with a mom and dad. We get that part. But we want to know, young lad, to the point of first disco. Now, lately I noticed, like all of us, we've been all going down memory lane. Because of social media and Throwback Thursdays, we put these old pictures up of us in the discos playing when we should not have been there. Because I'm one of them. I always say I was too young, but thank God I was there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I want the people that don't, you know, they don't read. See, okay, so let's put it like this. People who can't read, can you sum up in your own words where it sits from mom's house to the point where the record started, you know, from where you picked up the art of DJing? Who gave you that first break?
Well, I was really, really into music from, I don't know, as long as I can remember, 4, 5, crazy about it. My sisters, I had 4 elder sisters, all had amazing record collections, and I was always feeding off their tunes. And then when I got to about 10, my sister brought home this new guy, this new boyfriend, and he happened to be a DJ. And of course, when I saw his these two turntables that sort of would open up, and there was two, and there was a mixer in between. And we're looking at about 1977, 78. I was like, wow.
Okay, so what was playing on the radio at that time? Because I know you were
we would have had Edwin Starr, Contact, Chic. Early Chic, very early Chic.
Dance, yowza around that time.
Gary's Gang, Keep On Dancing, all that sort of stuff. So I was starting to buy that stuff, 12-inch singles, and then I started doing an under 18s night at our local church hall when I was 12. And I did that for 2 years. My dad was good enough to organize the whole thing. I bought loads of equipment. And we just...
Wow, you had a nice dad.
Yeah, and well, he'd loan me the money, and then I'd have to
with
pay
interest?
him the book. Oh yeah, I'd have to pay no interest though, luckily. So then I'd have to pay him back. But the money we made from each disco was, just paid it all back. It was fantastic. We had 120 kids every month without fail. We sold the tickets at the end of that night for the next one. We held 10 back for people on holiday, and that was it. And it just built, and it was a fantastic experience, especially starting to understand soul, disco, and stuff like that. And then after that, I started working in what we call a fun pub, like a bar with music. And on a Tuesday night, we'd have about 200, 250 people every Tuesday.
Where exactly was that?
That was just around the corner from where I live now, which is was near South London for people around the world, but this is in South London, let's say. Is
that the Crystal Palace area?
Oh, even further south. We're going towards Surrey, but that's...
Okay, so let me stop you and pause you, everyone. I have friends that live in inner London. Now, check this out. This is like living in New York City. Now, when you mention this, it's like someone saying they live way out in Long Island. No, further in Long Island. And they would always say to me, us inner London people, those are friends that we don't go to see. They're just too, because Londoners are very cocky about, they need to stay right in the inner sanction. But he's out in the suburbs doing a big party.
Yeah,
so go ahead. Sorry about that.
Towards the countryside. So it's kind of a little bit more that. But I got the best of both. 17 miles, and I'm in central London, which is easy. Like today I was.
Fabulous.
So from then I started working. I was 18. I went for an audition at a place called the Park in Kensington in London, and I got that. And I also got another 2 gigs out of that as well at the same time for a place in Luton. So at the age of 18, I was doing 3 to 4 nights a week DJing. And I think I got about to 19, joined DMC, Disco Mix Club, where I started doing remixes and mega mixes for them. That's where I started learning my craft. And then around about that time, John joined me.
Who was the owner of DMC again? What's his name?
Tony Prince.
That's right. And was he kind of godfathering you through this? Who was your godfather there?
Well, there's quite a few people. I mean, people who I was always going to get information from was Les Adams, Paul Duquesne, Alan Coulthard. And then I'd be looking up to legends such as well as them, obviously, such as Ben Liebrand and people like that who were just doing amazing records and remixes.
Ben Liebrand, good friend of ours. Hey, Ben, he's out there. He's in there too, is watching.
Oh, yeah, okay. Ben's a lovely fella, yeah. So, and it's fantastic. It was just a fantastic journey. And that was my of understanding how to record 24-track and doing the lot myself. I don't like sitting in the studio and someone else pressing the buttons. I have to do it myself. So that's why I make sure I learn everything because I possibly can. But at the same time, John Pern, he joined me about that time. He started doing the lights at a local club that I was working at. And I heard he was very good at, and he's a light man, yeah. And then I heard he was very good on the keys and I was very basic. And he came along and started to put a bit more musicality into my productions and remixes. And we kind of went from there. After that, we had a first pseudonym called Greed, then Hustlers Convention, which you've mentioned, and then that turned into Full Intention. And that's, yeah.
and with good intention.
With good intention. I actually nicked the name from Serious Intention. Do you remember Serious Intention on Easy Street?
That's one of my best friends, Anthony Malloy.
Oh, right. Well, I love his stuff, and the intention I just loved, and I thought, okay, then I put full with the intention. So that's how
Good
it comes.
intention. It was a good call.
And just throwing this on this line. Funny enough, I've remixed Serious Intention. You don't know. So
Yeah, I
that's
saw that. I saw some
Yeah.
advert about it. Yes.
Yeah.
Michael Cusick, my attorney's label.
Ah, yes, yeah.
He's been
yeah.
my attorney forever and ever.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
He did
yeah.
all my deals. He's a great guy. That's why I know, God, I know that whole lot is all of us as friends. So
Yeah.
when you mention the names, to give you a quick one on Anthony Malloy was part of the group Visual. The Music's Got Me, Boy Jarvis. He's in the band.
Oh, yeah.
So Kenny Carpenter and Anthony Malloy, and these are all the New York crew. That's how I know all them from the.
To be honest,
garage
Lenny,
era.
I don't think there's anyone you don't know. I think you know
Jesus Christ. No, I
everybody.
don't. Well,
I reckon you do.
I don't know if I know everybody. I like to actually. I was asked if I could get Philip Bailey
welcome.
on the show. I don't know Philip. I'm going to try to find a person to help me get Philip Bailey. But we'll see about Earth, Wind, and Fire. One of my great.
Yeah.
Admire. So you get down with this series. You mentioned. Let's go forward. So you just mix. You don't know. Paul Simpson production. How did that come about? What was the idea? Who did what? Did you go to Michael Cusick for it, or what did you wind up doing for the remix?
Well, about 2 months ago, Easy Street started following me on Instagram. And so I followed back and I just put a little message that, hi, love your stuff. And kind of, that's it. And then immediately Mike from Easy Street got back to me and said, would you like to choose any record you want to remix? I was like, absolutely. And so he gave me the list and I just picked out 2, which are my favorite. There's loads on there, but one was obviously You Don't Know, Serious Intention. The other one was World Premiere, Share the Night.
Oh, wow. Early one.
I didn't realize that was his very first release. So he was like, yeah, we're having that. So that's actually coming out first. That's promo. I think it's promoing this week and that's out in a couple of weeks. So yeah, but unfortunately he didn't have the parts. So we had to, he put it through.
Crafty. So what happens? Well, that's what I was going to ask you now. So what happens when you are now taking a track like that with no parts? What did you wind up thinking? What was the thought process and the machinery to go into that, to doing a remix like that?
Yeah, well, Mike, he actually gave me the parts where they went through this gadget through the RX called the RX7, which strips out different levels. So it will strip out the drums, it will strip out just the music and the vocals. On their own, they sound quite ropey. But when you put them all together and you put your new drums on and your new bass line, it actually sounds pretty good.
Disguising, of course, and EQ and all that wonderful stuff.
Yeah, and obviously I went back to the original record for certain bits, certain toms. I'll cut out bits from here, there. If I could find an a cappella, I'll do that. And I had to do the same sort of with Serious Intention. That was very much just of two-track masters, two-track masters, not 24-track, because again, they were missing. So it's trying to find a bit from here, bit from there, replay. I mean, it's quite fun finding the original sounds they used. So you can just sit there until you find it, especially with soft synths these days. You can normally find the sounds they've used and get it exactly the same. And then people think, well, that's fine, it's a remix. I had to do it with Chanel One Man.
Yeah.
That's all replayed.
Those masters, because those multi-tracks back in those days, when we signed those deals, all they wanted was the quarter-inch, what was on tape, quarter-inch master, or DAT tape, whatever it was that we delivered, or half-inch two-track. They didn't ask us, oh, by the way, you have stems. That's recent. I've been hearing that.
Oh, yeah.
You know? A lot of those house records are what they are. Just a two-track master, pre-master, and you got to do the rest on your own.
I had the acapellas though for You Don't Know, which was good, and that was a real savior having that.
Oh yeah, but that's on the record too.
That's on the record.
So
yeah.
you can lift that, and you got all that.
They are harder to do when you haven't got them all, as you know. Then they're harder to do as opposed to have all the separate parts. And you can't be quite as experimental as you want, but at least you can make it nice and fresh and a bit faster, so we can play it in a house club these days. The trick is not going too fast, otherwise it just doesn't work. It's just trying to get it as fast as you can without it sounding wrong. But so a bit of time stretching going on there as well.
No, I hear you. The young Michael Gray, DMC era Michael Gray, was he ever dreaming about that he would be have a huge career from all this? Was it just something that he was thinking at the time, I'm just going to play along because I love music, like some of us thought? We were never thinking about this was going to be an international thing. It was just local level type thinking.
Yeah, I always wanted to DJ and wanted to DJ in clubs. And then once I achieved that at 18, the moment I got to about 19, I started thinking, hang on, I want to start remixing these records. The records I'm getting sent in the post, some of the remixes are not so good. I think I could do something with this record and stuff like younger producers today and remixers. And then once you get the bug for it, that's it. All I wanted to do was make records, produce records, but it just takes a long time, learning your craft, learning your style. It just took a while, but I got into very much mega mixing. I was doing all these mixes. I had this thing called the Brits 1990, which was a mega mix of all various tracks. That actually went into a single in the 80s. That was a big thing, to have something mixed, lots of records mixed together into one single. So that was kind of
bits and pieces, right? Bits and pieces.
Like a bits and pieces, yeah. And that was a real learning curve for me. But yeah, and then that's it. I sort of knew, to be honest. Once I hit 19, I knew I wanted to be in the music industry and make records. And my goal was always, I wanted to always be able to make a record that would be able to be played in 10 years' time. That was it. A good dance record that could be played in 10 years' time. Wasn't after making a radio record. So,
well, needless to say, a lot of those records did become 7-inch edits and became radio records.
Yeah.
Because of how popular of the sound that you did through the late 90s and 2000s. But here's a question that a lot of us have faced. What was the most crushing moment in the music industry for you? Like as you were coming up, that would have made you say, oh my God, maybe I'm not really set up for this, you know?
Yeah, I've had a couple. One was in the 90s when you're working as hard as you can. You go to the record labels, and you know, I've been in meetings where you take your cassette with your 2 or 3 tracks, and it's all very nice. And the A&R guy starts listening to them, and then you can see him going over to his copy of Music Week, and he starts reading it as he's listening to the records. And you just think, I can't believe how rude you could actually be. You know?
And that's nice. That's really nice they did that.
I know, but yeah, I laugh at it now.
Worse than that, brother. Way worse than that.
Of it,
and get the hell out of here with this shit.
and you have times where, you know, for example, let's say you want Pete Tong to play it, you know, especially in the 90s. And he was the #1 person to get your record to, as we all
Friday
know.
Night guy. Your Friday night guy.
Still important now, but he was the Friday night guy. And you try so hard. And when we were doing the Hustlers Convention stuff, he wasn't biting. And then the moment we did the Full Intention and we just changed the sound, shaped it a little bit tougher, bang, that was it. But, you know, you go through a lot of tears and you think, oh, I'm just going to give up. And I've had it about 5-6 years ago. I was close to giving up. When EDM music come in, and it just exploded, and it just felt as if everybody wanted to just hear EDM. It
was like that, bro. It was like that, because I remember people looking at me going like we were ghosts, like we just didn't exist. Nobody understands that. They asked this question, where have you been? So let me ask you, where have you been during that time, you know? Yeah. And you answer, well, I've been right here. Yeah. But for whatever reason, you become invisible.
Well, because the labels sort of think, well, your sound isn't tough enough. It hasn't got a 16-bar snare roll. It hasn't got huge breakdown and all this sort of stuff. And you try and make records like that, or you try and do something that's in between, but it doesn't work. So, you know, thank God over the last 4 or 5 years, things have gone back. It's like a reset button.
Thank God. Everybody
wants to hear records that sound like the 90s.
Music!
Yeah.
Now, why did Michael Gray, who's known for being a house remixer, decide to put his feet deep in disco? We know you love disco. That's not. But why go through the painstakingly process of shedding that house thing for a moment to work hard in disco? What was the thought process?
Because it's always been my love, and it's always the thing. Even in the 90s, you know, when I was saying to John, let's do this track, let's do that, and or Full Intention thing, they're all disco led, and some records might become a little bit more housey. But I just love the fact with disco, it gives you a chance to, dare I say it, actually, you know, change key a little bit. You know, you put a bridge in a record where you couldn't beforehand. It allows you to bring the tempo down as well. Instead of everything banging away at 128, you can do it at 120, 118. And also something I'd noticed from DJing either for Glitterbox or just generally going out, that a lot of younger kids really love the new disco sound. And I love it when they come up to me and they say, I love what you're playing. We're so fed up of hearing the same old stuff on radio. You know, all they get is R&B on radio, especially in the UK on daytime radio. So for them, and to come up to a club and they're only about 19 saying, this is what we want to hear. This is what, and you think, right, great. That makes me go into the studio and make more of it, because it's great to appeal to a huge range of people, you know, whether my age or someone who's about 18.
Did you ever think when we were in the middle of the EDM era that this would ever come back?
No, no, I didn't. And you start, that's why you start thinking, shall I just hang up everything now? You know, I could still DJ if I wanted to, and I was, and you get paid good money, but then you're realizing you're always feel like you're diluting what you really want to play. So I actually even stopped and said, I'm not doing any more Michael Gray gigs. I just stopped. I don't care if it means you lose money. It just means that I could then reset with Full Intention. This was about 2013, something like that, and just create the sound and start from scratch. And then I thought more house music would come back in, which it was. You know, and big respect to people like Jamie Jones, who brought that deeper house stuff coming back in. Kerry Chandler, we were
big
talking
time.
about.
I spoke to him this morning. Yep, Kerry Chandler.
Yeah, and Dave Lee, who's always kept to, you know, his sound. So
yes, definitely. The Z Records man.
Yeah, and obviously the new guys around, Purple Disco Machine, everything like that, who's, you know, really kept that sound. Like, there's loads of people. I'm probably missing out loads of producers.
Oh yeah, there's. I mean, we can sit here and name everybody. No. Don't be sorry. Listen, we can't remember everybody, but we will say, and everybody who contributed, from Vega Morales, everybody.
Absolutely.
There's so many names. There's so many names.
Those guys are brilliant.
But how important is it for you to stay humble and close to what you believe in? In other words, as much as you're told, maybe if you change this will work. What's the inner gut when you're sitting down writing and producing these records? Do you feel it's important to hear someone's opinion? Or do you say, no, F that, I'm staying on course to what Michael Gray wants to do?
Yeah, that's interesting. Of course, when you put it on your own record label, you're the A&R guy, so it has to work. But I will play it. Obviously, I'll play it to, you know, a few people that I trust. You know, I'll play it to my girlfriend or whatever. And of course, obviously, if I'm not sure myself, like you, I'd probably just play it to a few people, DJs, and say, just give me your opinion. Do you prefer that chorus or do you prefer that chorus? You know, sometimes you need it, but only people you trust who give you an honest opinion. But I do think there are times when I've had records that I've sent to labels. I only send them to a couple of labels. But I've sent to labels, they've turned them down, not because they didn't like them, they just didn't feel it was right for their label. I've then put them on my own, and they've done really well. Not just on Traxsource, but on the other mediums as well. And you think, oh, that's okay. I'm glad I stuck with my guns, because I could have just put that on the shelf and thought, they don't like it and that person doesn't like it. So, you know, sometimes you've just got to keep with what you feel is yourself, what's true to you.
So is it more like I call it the push and pull theory? In other words, we still listen to what people are telling us, but yet, F you to your opinion, I know better.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
A little bit, but you have to take it on, you know. And there's people I trust and I know, and if they say something, because first of all, when someone gives you their opinion on your track, first of all, you're like, oh, okay, but then you have to go away and think about, and you have to You have to humble yourself and say, well, hang on a second, let me have a proper listen to this. And do you know what? Funny enough, sometimes a month, 2 months might go past. You listen to that record and you get anything, yeah, they were right.
Right. And that happens to all of us.
Yeah.
It happens to, you're angry, not angry, you're a bit bothered because you're not angry. Just, it's like a noise. Someone's hitting you here going.
Yeah, but it's just your pride. That's all. You're proud of what you've done. You spent ages on it normally, and you're proud of what you've done. But it's quite funny because sometimes people say to me, "Would you have a listen to my record? Could you have a listen?" And
Don't you love that question? Could you
give me
please?
your honest opinion? And then I'll give my honest opinion, and I never hear from them again. It's like, oh, nothing nasty, but just say, I think you should do this and do that, and. But if they don't want to listen, they don't want to. But other people will take it on board and they do adjust it and it works. So.
It's a hardship and could be a loving experience, but yet it could be also a terrible moment. It's happened to all of us. I've gotten sheets of recall stuff to do on records. And I know you have as well from some of the same A&Rs that we've all worked with. I'm not mentioning names, but I've made them laugh years later. I said, I remember you sending over 4 or 5 sheets of notes. We'd have to go through each part, have to make adjustments to the mix.
Yeah, but it's not a big deal these days because we just got total recall on our computers. Beforehand,
back then it was a lot of
channel desk or something. We're like, oh right, okay, we've got all these markers and we can't scrub it until they've accepted it. But now it's just recall. I mean, I work on about 3 records a day because what I'll do is I'll spend, let's say, 3 hours on one or 4 hours, and then sometimes I just write, that's enough. I can't tell how good that is at the moment, so I'll go on to something else. Work on that, then I'll go back to it and I think, right, that's wrong. It's really easy to do now. There's no excuse for producers these days to not get it right.
It's true. It's very true. Since you're Mr. Saturday, people have always loved you for a major record that you had right before EDM kicked off. That was a huge record, probably one of the biggest on the weekend every week on Spotify, that they have to get wound up and getting dressed. Back in the day, I used to listen like Jelly Bean before I went out. He'd be on Disco 92 and you'd be getting ready. Well, your record's one of those records that you'd probably hear if it was 1979. You know what I'm saying? Like 1980. But what the hell made you do that? Like, it's such a great record, but how'd that all happen? The weekend.
I always wanted to make a record that was to do with the weekend. I love that. I love that feeling, and it doesn't matter what age you are, and especially when I was 15, 16, 17, and you're getting ready and you're listening to us. We used to listen to Greg Edwards, who used to be on Capitol, and you're listening to all these brand new disco tunes and soul and funk tunes, and you're like, I can't wait to go out tonight. I might hear these records, and it never leaves you. And I thought, what a great way to have a record that people can relate to, and that goes back to my point of where I wanted to make a record that you would hopefully want to listen to and dance to in 10 years' time. And that came true. So, I love feel-good records. I love things that make you feel good.
The question I want to know is, was it an expensive clearance to deal with getting that all sorted out? And explain the process of clearing out. I know you replayed parts. I know you did all the stuff.
Yeah.
But what was the process to making that record? Like, you want to do a weekend record. We got that. Are you sitting in the studio? Where were you? In London? Were you in some spot? Did it come to you at a bar? Were you talking to John saying, F you, I'm going to make a record. It's going to blow everybody away. Like, what was the idea? Like, what was you thinking? If you want to know that.
John and I took a break from Full Intention about 2.5 years before that. I wanted to just do some separate stuff, and he had some things he wanted to do, and we felt like we'd just become a machine, remixing records the same as the last one. So I went on to produce this group called Portobello. I just wanted to do something different, post-punk, and I just wanted a little break from house music so I could reset all the battery, all the things, and I put this rough idea together with some chords, and I got Shenna in, and I got another amazing singer, Xavier, in to just put down this rough idea I had of a chorus, which I got from an ad-lib of Oliver Cheatham. And I worked on it, and it was okay, and then I just left it. got on with this group Portobello. So this was just before, and left it, finished the group, signed them to Ireland, thought, right, tick, done that. Got that out of my system. And then when I went back to it, all of a sudden, all the ideas come flooding back. I'd taken a long break from house music, well, a whole year really. And all the ideas just came really, really quickly. We just put it out as a chorus only with the music, cleared the publishing, with Oliver, and that was it really.
Hit record happened, bro. Hit record.
We were lucky. Yeah, 3,000 white labels, I think, just in Ibiza alone.
Making sure everybody had a copy, right?
Yeah, well, they did. They made sure. And then they said, "Look, I think we got a radio record here." So, and we got a guy called Jim Irvin and Sally Steele to write the verses. Well, we got a few people, but when theirs come in, it was like, bang, that's it. That's the one. I didn't want it too cheesy. I wanted it still cool, because you could easily cheese out a record like that.
Was that your idea to have that hot chick on the Xerox machine in the office?
Funny you should say that. No, it was not. I promise.
Because that would be something I would say. That would be something I would think Michael would probably want to do just for the gag.
Well, what I did want, the only thing I did want was a Daft Punk-esque sort of robotic sort of video. And then obviously it's a more uplifting record. It's not a dark tune, or it's
it's not robotic. It's still very soulful sounding,
Yeah. So that's why. But with the movements of one of Daft Punk's records, one of their videos. I can't remember which it is. Not Defunk. It's one of those where there's a lot of robotic movements in the video.
I think it's around the world when they're going around.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah. Sorry, it's around the world. My memory's going. Age.
Your memory's very good, man. You even remember names. You're doing better than I am. I'll be honest. You must be taking that Provigen for your brain.
So that was it. And we sent the scripts. The scripts come back in from various different directors, and with that in mind, bang, that was it. And the idea of the photocopier and her sort of doing the robotic dancing. And then the 4 girls were chosen. The director chose the 4 girls. I thought we made a brilliant choice. I remember going up to Pineapple Dance Studios on a Sunday afternoon to watch them rehearse it. That was quite a buzz. So that, and that was good. I didn't want to be in it. I already said that. I thought, no more videos. I've been in a few of Full Intention ones. That was enough at the time. So I think the girls, I think I would have ruined it if I was in it. Can't imagine.
How's it balancing family life with having a 24-hour lifestyle like we carry? How's that work for you?
It's had its moments. Yeah, it's had its moments, because it is hard. You're doing a job that is your second. Well, is one of your loves. It's your big loves, and it is very hard to switch off. So, and then of course when the DJing steps up after you have a record like that, it does put pressure. You suddenly, you got your 3 boys at the time. I had 3 boys who are under 18 months. 2 were twins and an 18-month-old. So it was chaos. It was chaos in the house. So it wasn't the easiest thing, and trying to balance everything. So no, I don't regret, obviously, having all these records, and some of them doing better than the others. But yeah, it does put a strain, and I think most producers and DJs will tell you that. But more so from the DJing point of view, because you're away a lot, and it is hard.
But at least for you, you were lucky, because with me and the American lot, we'd have to start from New York.
I feel sorry for
you. Yeah, to get to the UK, it's 8 hours before.
Even now to this day, I still think how you guys do it. I do not know.
For the love and then the money. Because we love the music, but I've always said, as a DJ, you get paid to travel. Yeah. Because if you love what you do, it's not a job.
Yeah.
But the job is me dealing with the airplanes, the cars, the trains, the aggravation. As you know, even you traveling around Europe, jet setting, it's still, you still feel the stress of getting to a gig, dealing with a promoter. It's not easy. People think it's glamorous.
It's definitely not glamorous. It's glamorous going out. It's not glamorous coming back when you're tired and you've only had about 3 hours sleep. But yeah, I enjoy. I think the hardest one was, when I was playing Australia quite a few times, and that used to be quite tiring. And I'm one of these people that, I like to be in the studio a lot. And so the idea of going on a 2-week tour is not going to happen for me. I did it once and I wouldn't do it again. So after that, I would do Australia, get this in 3 days to 4 days max.
Back to back gigs.
Yeah, that's how I did it. So and
Mighty Mike.
But you get good sleep on the plane. I had a way, and I kept on UK time, so it didn't become tiring. So I was fresh when I got. I had to sleep on the second leg of the plane, and straight to the club, bang, and it worked that way. But for you, going backwards and forwards to New York, which I've done a few times, and it is tiring. So yeah, good on you.
Thursday night, play Friday, play Saturday, come home Sunday, start working in the studio again.
Yeah.
Every weekend for years. You feel like you live in the damn plane sometimes.
Yeah.
But I will never ever say it was horrible. It was the most great experience of my life. I wouldn't know you guys, bro.
Yeah.
If we didn't have that chance, what dance music has done, it made the world small. It literally did. I mean, it was awesome to have the friendships we all have. The experience, you know that. We've sat down many times, you and I had coffee together, laughing about other things outside. People, we don't only talk about music 24/7. We talk about all kinds of stuff. We've had conversations about people, bullshit, like you do with your friends. You sit down, you have a glass of wine, and you just say, hey, how you doing? Not how you doing musically, how are you doing? And then things happen. Things roll out.
Yeah,
that's the kind of relationships, and you learn from this. You assimilate with people that you normally would never have gotten a chance to ever meet.
Oh,
because if you go on vacation, let's say you go to New York on vacation, you don't have time to meet people like the way we've all become friends. It's impossible.
No. Yeah, it's the best. Like the first time second time I went to New York, we went on to New York in 2004, a working holiday. This is John and myself. And, to meet a lot of, people that we've looked up to over the years was incredible. And you'd never ever do that normally. We got to work with Barbara Tucker, Darjay, Dwayne Hardin, Blaze. It was just like who's who, and go to all these amazing clubs, Shelter, which again, and you get treated different because you're in the same thing. But if I went as a punter, it would be a lot different.
Get away. Go stand online. Get over there, boy. No, your full intention. Oh, bring him in. Bring him in the booth. Get him some champagne. That's a whole different world, of course. I tell this all the time. If it wasn't what we do, we would never have that kind of love and respect.
The best thing I'm finding now, though, is meeting a lot of my idols who I'd never always looked up to. So, seeing people like Jelly Bean, John Morales, you think, God, I used to play your records religiously. I learned off people. And then you meet them. It's a real buzz. And that's it. That's the great thing. So, and getting to going to countries which you would never, ever, probably ever gone on holiday, Siberia, DJed in Siberia.
Why were you in Siberia?
For a gig.
Well, that's my point. Michael, here's the best question I've always gotten. And I know maybe you've heard this or maybe not, but I'll share this with the community watching us. Don't they have DJs in Siberia? Why do they need to bring you? So why are they bringing you, Michael?
Yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe they didn't. I don't know, but
I used to get this all the time. You travel to go play records? Why?
Yeah, it's funny when you tell people the places you go to, and think, what, really? Just there, just for that? And then you're back.
Just for that.
That's it.
But why? What makes you special? They don't have people there to do that? They have plenty of people there to do that. They just want you.
Yeah, it's a nice buzz. Yeah, like you said earlier, you're not really doing a job. You're just doing something that you love to do.
And earning some shekels on the way home. A bag of shekels to go pay bills at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
Which brings me to our matrimonial thing that we have together. which is one of the most pivotal records in house music. And you mentioned Dwayne Harden. I'll quickly sum this up. Gladys Pizarro and Dwayne and I got together. Gladys was the A&R at Strictly Rhythm, and Dwayne and I wrote a song at the time when he went to work with Amon Ben Helden. Those that know, You Don't Know Me, he had a #1 hit with him. Post to that, right after, 6 months later, a guy who worked a regular job and a very good job, he made a lot of money at UPS, he now was becoming a singer. And it was a joke for him because he wasn't really into this, but he was a big dancer in the clubs. And we went and wrote a song called What You Need. Needless to say, Gladys and I would go into studio, and I was producing the track, and we had 10 or 12 vocal sessions. I've seen it said this many times. We finished the record, got it to the likes of Pete Tong, may he rest in peace, Trouble Anderson, Paul Trouble Anderson, and Danny Rampling, and they rocked the record. The weekend the record went out on an acetate, my phone rings at home in New York, and that's Simon Dunmore telling me I started Defected, and I'm going to go to the old man, Finkelstein, and I'm going to ask him to sign it. I want this record. Post to that, I'm like, cool. That Monday happens. I get a call from Finkelstein. He says they're signing the record. I was like, great. And next thing you know, Simon Dunn was very close to Mr. Gray, because at that time he was, I think, it just started to manage him, if I remember correctly. He was an in-house, kind of like an in-house guy to A&M, Simon, and now the Defected record. So I now signed the record to Finkelstein, which is Strictly Rhythm. And then the record goes across the ocean with my parts to Mr. Michael Gray. I'll pick up that part. And of course, Full Intention and Simon Dunmore and the whole lot. Yeah. I'll let you pick up that part of how that record steps in your life.
The moment we heard it, we thought, this is brilliant. This is fantastic. The production was really good. The song was really hooky. So, and then we took the track and we had to re-record all the strings. So from the sample, and that was fun. And so we did all that, and it's I think between us all, we were lucky enough that went, I think in the UK, I think it went to 4. I might be wrong.
Yeah, it was up there. It was up there. And here's the funny part. I remember being in the UK doing the whole press tour with Dwayne, and they were saying they couldn't bring all the members in because of the problem with the musicians unions in England. What happened there? I don't remember. Yeah. I never got that part of the story, but there was an issue on your end with them.
Yeah. Well, John and I, we used the string arranger. I think we used Stephen Hussey. I can't remember, from Soul to Soul fame. And we decided we'd use 10 players. So string players. So I think we had something along the lines of probably 4 violins, 4 violas, and we couldn't have had 2 cellos. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So we had 10. We'd only need 1 cello. Anyway, there's 10 players. Now over here, MU rates, we have to pay them a certain amount for each. You get 3 hours with them. That is it. And the moment the session's finished, they can just up and leave, even if you're not finished. That's the rules. And on top of that, they all have to get paid a session for that 3 hours each one. So that's fine. But what we didn't realize, Simon rang me up and said, I don't know if I can afford to put this on top of the pops, because we got to pay another 10 times their session fees again for it going on television. And it's deciding. And
I never heard. See, I never knew that. He never said a word.
Yeah, you only get that in this country. And we thought, oh yeah. So I can't remember what the session was. I think it was probably another £250 times 10.
2,500 sterling.
Yeah, something like that. But it was kind of deciding, oh, okay, this is a bit more expensive. But over here, luckily, Top of the Pops is, or was, such an institution, so watched. And if your record went on Top of the Pops, you know it's more likely to go up the charts than go down. So of course Simon said, no, it's going out. So, and that was it. So we were lucky. But from since then, we've restricted the players to about 6 maximum.
Right, because of that regulation, right? Yeah. I had no idea that regulation held any weight in England like that.
Yeah, that's why, especially in the early days, it was so strict with the musicians union in the 80s and stuff. If an American disco record was, the artist came over on top of onto top of the pops to sing, that backing track had to be totally re-recorded that afternoon by MU members. So it never sounded quite the same
What?
as it was originally
Like
recorded.
Soul Train? Like when we do the Soul Train, play the backing track, everybody's like,
yeah, all the music would be recreated. So whatever the track was. So if it was strings,
I didn't know that.
yeah, someone would be paid to redo all those backing tracks. They weren't allowed to use the original.
We've had some interesting people step up and they've been cursing at me because they want me to say hi to you. Junior Sanchez. He's like, nice to see both of you.
Oh, Junior. Oh, I love Junior Sanchez. Lovely guy. I haven't seen Junior since ADE 2 years ago, I think.
And Michael, Ben Liebran would like to thank you for that bass drum and hi-hat.
You're welcome, Ben. That's someone I've learned a lot of.
I think a lot of you have. His radio mixes have been very, very transcending and very, let's put it like this, they were a big change to that sound in the 80s. I mean, he changed the game, Ben Liebran, for a lot of us that we were hearing stuff going on. And also, what's his name? Paul, who did D-Train, Paul Hardcastle too, another one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Take that water, Mike. I got some questions to give you. So, favorite car that you like to drive these days?
Oh, funny enough, I took delivery of this 1 week before lockdown, and finding out that can I afford it? My new Mercedes convertible, which I
so you like German? Beautiful. Beautiful.
Well, I can go two car. My kids now, they're all 17, and 19. One of them is now driving. I don't have to do the school run anymore. So
I remember I used to call you.
The moment I get your new car, you get your cars, and we've got you sorted, I'm going back to 2-door.
Good for you. Good for you. No more family units.
Yeah.
Tell me how's it been for you dealing with COVID, dealing with the whole change of the music industry and the gigs? Let people understand what that's like for us.
Yeah,
in the music industry.
gigs is the weird bit. First of all, I was like, that's okay, because I'm so used to being in the studio anyway. I'm always locked down myself anyway, from 8:30 in the morning to about 6 at night or 7 at night. That's the way I've been 5 days a week. But now I must admit, and it started about 2 months ago, I'm starting to really miss that buzz of going out Saturday night and making people dance and playing new records. That is a bit frustrating, but you know what? It's better to stay safe and just say, right, let's just have a fresh start next year. And I enjoy doing a virtual festival for Glitterbox, and that was a real buzz to do, and that was kind of the closest I think to actually DJ for someone since I don't know February, I guess. But I'm lucky enough. I've been okay. I just feel sorry for a lot of DJs who don't make records, who their income isn't supported with royalties. That is hard for them, and I do feel for them. So, but hopefully it might just inspire them to go in the studio and make lots of good songs, which leads me to what I'm saying now. For me, and it's again Ultramoda, who I put a lot of my records through and look after my Sultra label. Bass there, he turned around and said, to be honest, we're not worried whatsoever. We're putting out exactly the same amount of records, if not more, because people want to hear vocals. And, that is the good thing about it. It's vocal records sound great at home. I know maybe they don't always sound as tough and as a big dance instrumental record, but they're actually working quite well for lockdown. So me personally, I haven't seen any dip.
Here in the United States, there's a discussion in the restaurant business. Now, restaurant is across the board, bars and clubs, that 1 out of 3 may come back after this is over. 1 out of 3, which means about $85 million in income will be lost. Meaning
Scary.
bartenders, and that's a reality check. Okay. Is there a fear amongst the UK community, because I know you speak to the other guys, about who will be able to come back? You know, as far as venues and us being able to do what we do. What do you think that's going to be like, that landscape, after this is finally over? I mean, you know, if you can look at the crystal ball, what do you think it would be?
I think it's a tricky one. It's okay for the promoters who put on festivals, or they've had to cancel it this year, but they're just switching that all to next year. But they don't have an actual building to have to pay loads of rent to. So it's hardest hit, obviously, as we know, is the actual clubs. And I just don't know. We've never ever seen anything like this in our lifetimes, have we? Never. So who knows what it's going to. I think a few are obviously going to close, but unless they can turn them into sort of sit down sort of restaurants playing background music, I'm not sure how it's going to work.
Well, let's ask this question. Are you comfortable with the fact that all of a sudden, say somebody says to you now, I need you to come and play? Okay, so we're going to be putting masks on. Let's be realistic, until there's some sort of vaccination. Yeah. But actually performing, because I saw David Morales did a gig in Greece, and they had tables, no dancing. How do you feel about this whole, I am performing to like a stand-up crowd? Like, I should give you a microphone and you could do comedy jokes. As it feels like you're talking to, you know?
This is something that goes through my mind. I'm thinking, right, if I start up doing that, how will it feel? Because it's in our DNA to want to make people dance, you know, from building up the first record and trying to get as many as you can crammed on the dance floor. That's the whole thing, and enjoying themselves. And you feed off them. You feed off people, you know, smiling in front of you or dancing. The more they dance, the more you think, oh, great, I'm going to play more like that, or, you know, that type of thing. And that obviously that's not going to be there. All I can say is I just remember when, again, going back to this, when I was 16 and I worked for 2 years in this fun pub. They called it fun pub then. It's like a bar, but you didn't have a dancing license. People were not allowed to dance because if they did, then they weren't allowed to let 200, 300 people in. It'd have to be 100 people. So they didn't want that because they lose a lot of money. So I was used to playing to people who didn't dance, who couldn't dance. And if they did dance, I had to stop them. The manager would come up and says, you need to stop them, change the record. So, yeah, I kid you not. And it's kind of...
So what was the Killjoy record at that moment? Mike, change it. The police are outside. What was the Killjoy?
It'd be probably something kind of, I don't know, just not one of the more popular records or whatever. Because back then it would have been a lot of soul and funk I was playing, you know, things like Tony Lee, Reach Up, or whatever. So you would obviously not play those records. You would suddenly go into playing something a little bit more mellow, not so much of a beat. Or you physically went up to that person and said, can you stop dancing? Because
just stop dancing. Why?
Yeah.
Okay, mate. I'm sorry. And then they start dancing again. Like, wait a minute. No.
I love your English accent that just crept in there. Okay, mate.
Okay,
mate. We're all Cockneys.
I know. I've been doing it so long. I've picked it up so long, hanging out with all of you. It's like, I get it. Boy, no dancing, mate. No dancing. Yeah. But, you know, that's the thing now. How, as a producer, this was always big for me, bro. And all the DJs I know, we love to test records when we're in the middle of making them.
Oh, yeah.
How the hell's that work now for you?
Well, that's completely gone out the window. There's no way testing them. There's no way of testing them. It's the last test is really in the car now.
Yeah, it's upstairs. The last test of all fails.
But yeah, that is the shame. But again, luckily enough now, for me and for you, I'm sure you have the same. There's so many internet radio stations that play just house music or just play disco or new disco or whatever it is. For example, you know, My Soul, and My House, where I've got my show, and I will listen to that a lot during the day. And obviously you start hearing your records played on that. You think, this is really good. That means this is starting to get accepted. It's a shame you haven't got that buzz of literally physically watching people, but you get a rough idea if someone likes a record. You know, you can
So,
have the best kick drum in
so
the world.
someone coming to watch you now, what was the pecking order for promoting a record? Like, you would make the record, it's finished. Okay. So in your world, the production's finished. Take it from there. What do? We go to mastering. What's that all about to the point of a record being released for someone that doesn't understand what goes on?
Okay, well, in the past, obviously, you'd get the record right up to you're really happy, done the car test, then you would play it out your next gig. And then after that, that would depend whether you go back and do some tweaks. For example, we mentioned The Weekend. I remember playing that out, and immediately, the moment I played it, I could hear a few things that weren't quite right. You just don't hear it until you hear it on a big system and you watch the crowd reaction. And then you quickly make a mental note in your head, go home, make those tweaks, and that obviously you can't do that now. So a lot of it, but for me, particularly these days anyway, I'll make the record at home. I'll then take it to another studio for example, where I've been today. I'll spend a couple of hours at this other studio with a very good engineer who will just find all the bits that I've not quite got right and make them better. Say, for example, if the kick drum, it's not cutting as well as it could, he might suggest let's try a different one or just change it very slightly. It could be small things like that, but then it will come out. I know that I've had that extra 10% put on to make it up to 100. So I've taken it to him 90% probably right, and he's given it the 10%. So I now know it's gone through someone else's ears who I respect, and a much bigger studio, huge Genelec speakers, and I know what it will sound like. And then after that, I will send it to get mastered, and then that's the last part in the chain. So it's gone through quite a few people in order to know that it sounds good. And those people I all respect. They all turn around to me and say, Mike, I think that hi-hat is too coarse. Can you reduce that before I master it? The mastering engineer will tell me. It's like being at school. You've got that bit wrong. It's not like you to do that, So you go back and readjust it. But that's what you want. You don't want someone just to, I just do it because I better not tell him that it's not very good. You want people to be honest with you.
But be honest with yourself now. Everybody now is everything. The guy is the guy in the beginning. He changes hats. He is now the A&R. He's the producer. He's the mastering technician. He's the promoter. How do you be bipartisan being all that?
Well, I'm used to the production side, doing the whole lot myself. As again, my grounding was DMC, where we were expected to do the whole lot ourselves. It wasn't the case of sitting in a nice cozy chair and, where maybe a classic producer would say, right, can you put a bit of that on? Can you do the drums? Can you do this? And you go, well, I like that. I don't like that. You're doing it yourself. You've been taught to do it yourself. You didn't have the budgets to say, I'll pay for this person, I'll pay for that. You just didn't have it, so you did it yourself. So ever since then, I've carried on doing that. Obviously, if I need live strings put on, I'll pay for that and things like that. And the keys that I've got sound a bit rubbish, I'll get someone else to put some better chords on if I can't get the ones I want. But apart from that bit I do myself. And then with record label, like we said earlier, once the record's done, I will then send it to a few people and just check I've got something that hopefully they like, and then I can then release on my label.
Here's one for you. I spoke to Kerry Chandler. He's right now in the middle of making an album. So his album got pushed back due to COVID for the release schedule. Same with Karmic Power. Some of my key records, I decided, since we have no club scene, I'm holding back a few key ones that we really need that extra push. Is there anything hiding in the box in Michael Gray's storage cabinet was about ready to come out, and you pulled it back out of the oven?
I've got to be honest, I don't think there is. The only records that are holding back are the ones I can't get clearance for, which are remixes, which will go on forever and ever and ever, but I'm holding back. I won't just whack them out as a bootleg. I'm holding back. So there are a few special ones, but I'm not doing it for any other reason other than I'm just waiting for certain major record labels to go.
To wake up and go, it's okay.
You could make some money out of this, and but yeah, but there is a lot. There is a lot of records that I've been working on, and I can't wait to put out. But unfortunately, at the moment, you have to make sure you don't put all your records out in one go. So they are at the moment, it's all plotted for the next 2 months, 3 months, a record roughly every week or every other week.
An older Michael Gray talks to the young Michael Gray. What does he tell him not to do? Because I could tell you from me. Older Michael Gray, the wiser Michael Gray, grayed in hair, weathered with wisdom, talks to the young guy at DMC. Take that water. You have to answer it. Tells the young guy at Michael Gray at DMC what to do and what not to do. What does he tell him? Don't do this.
I can't. I'm going to be honest here. This is going to sound
be
really
honest.
headed, but there's nothing that I can think of. I can't think of anything. The only thing, I suppose, the one thing I would have done is I wished I didn't panic when music started to change from what I normally did. When electro come in, I was like, yeah, I like some of this, it was good. And then it got heavier and heavier. Then you're like, and then EDM come in, and then you start trying to readjust your records. And it wasn't just me doing that, because I know a lot of very famous DJs and producers that we all know. We all had a crack at it thinking, well, we'll try and do something.
We'll survive through this. We'll make it.
Yeah, and I regret trying. And I wish I never did that. I wish I just stuck to my guns. And that includes from the DJing point of view. Should have just, but that's one thing. And from now on, I will be,
So you tell that young guy, don't you dare change. Stick to your guns.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell it. Okay, so the Grammy nominated part. Some of you know that he's been nominated for a Grammy. Some of you didn't know he was nominated for some Grammys. Let Mike tell you which one he was nominated for. And as well, I remember when I met up with him in New York, he was here getting another award that he'll tell you about for, I can't remember, it was a young band you were working on?
Yeah, I was produced or co-produced, young band called Midnight Mystery Club. That's when I saw you 2 years ago, wasn't it? That's
yes,
right.
In New York. Yeah.
We had a chat. Yeah, that was great. Yeah, we were lucky to be nominated for 3 different categories: best album, best single, and best producer. And we come away with one of them, which is best producer, which was fantastic. So I was happy with that.
You have the award. Is the award in the room, or is it on the? Where is the award next?
Where is it? It's in. It's. I think it's in the kitchen.
Go get it.
Want to get it?
Go get it. Go bring after you guys show everybody your award. Go get that award. Well, I'll tell them. Go ahead. So we got Mike. Mike running to get his award, as you saw with the shorts on, that he's going, because it's important that he shows that award to everybody. It's amazing how I remember all this stuff. I don't have no script. Someone asked me today, Lenny, do you have the scripts written? I just want to let Michael Gray know I don't have a script written, Mike. Okay? I just go by my memory. It may make me crazy, but it's a good interview. Wow, Michael Gray and David Paul Newell.
Yeah,
independent
they're
music
really
award.
good. It's kind of a 70s, they're all original songs, 70s vibe to them, and just really cool songs, stuff that's very LA. So there's that one. And then while I was there, because these were in the kitchen, and that's the nomination that John and I received for George Michael's Amazing, when we remixed Amazing. And that was a fantastic experience going over to LA.
Tell us that experience. Tell the viewers how that felt, the LA thing.
It's just a huge buzz. I'd never been to LA before. I'd never been, neither of us had. And just going to the parties beforehand and meeting up with so many, talented people and great people. That was the buzz. The funny thing is, I just remember sitting there and thinking, I hope we haven't won, because I don't want to go up and make a speech. And the other half of me thinking, I do want to, I would like to win.
Yeah. I'm shocked that you would even say that. I'm like, everybody's dream is to win that damn thing. Come on.
Yeah, you kind of want to win it. You just think, oh God, I've got to get up and say something. I've got nothing prepared, but we didn't win it. And the fact is, one thing I do love about the Grammys, as opposed to over here, the Brits, the Grammys have a dance category and all that sort of stuff. And also you the nomination is treated, I think, as if you have won. You know, it's a very,
because it's an honor, mate. It's an honor to get that.
yeah. And you know what? I come away with a nomination, and that was enough for me. Honestly, it was enough for me, because you
God
know in your
bless you.
heart that.
Well, I give you a double golf clap, and everybody who's watching is golf clapping me hard on that one.
Oh, thank you.
Because I'll never forget when you said to me, "I'm coming to New York to get an award." I'm like, "Well, what award are you getting?" "Oh, I'm doing this. I'll tell you when I see you." I remember you telling me. I'll tell you when but that's the alternative side to Michael Gray. What exactly? People don't really know that, Mike. What is that alternative side musically for you that you've been involved in?
I just every now and then I like to do something slightly different. It's always going to be dance orientated, but it might not be a 4-to-the-4 house thing. And this guy, Paul, he came to write with me. I was introduced to him by Simon Marlin from the Shapeshifters, and he came to do a bit of writing on one of my tracks. And he said, "By the way, would you ever listen to this? What do you think?" And it sounded a bit like Empire of the Sun, his first record he played to me. And I said, "I love it. This is really good." And he said, "Would you be interested in doing a whole album? I like the way you work." I was like, "Yeah." So we literally worked. He worked from LA and sent over bits and pieces and music and the song and everything. And I started putting it all together at this end. And I think we recorded about 10 tracks. And again, alternative. It's, don't expect it to be banging house or anything like that. But it was a real buzz. So I didn't expect to get that award either. And that's been really good.
Does those awards bring more work for you?
Kind of, I think so, but again, it's a funny thing, because I then always want to go back and carry on making house music. I love house music. I love disco music. So you kind of think, yeah, I still want to do that. My heart is very much making dance records. I love I love making records that make people dance. So you kind of don't really want to go too much into. I don't think I could be a producer producing pop acts or just completely in the background all the time. There's always part of you who wants to go out and DJ and make those records that are a little bit more energetic to dance to and stuff.
Gotcha. On the outsides of music, for me, people don't realize this, but I've said this many times before. I'm a big classic rock fan. Jethro Tull, Led Zeppelin.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's something you say.
In a white room with dark curtains. I love English rock. Loved it.
Wow.
Always been around us in America because Jimi Hendrix, all that stuff. It's been, part of the bar scene. You went out, post disco in the 80s, Devo, Let It Whip. If you didn't hear that, you heard Stairway to Heaven 1,000 times, and everybody playing their air guitar. Is there any other music that you put on besides R&B when you're hanging out?
Mainly, to be honest with you, it's soul. I like a lot of 80s pop stuff like that. I suppose
really?
Not particularly Devo, but I like, a lot of new romantic stuff with the Human League, but stuff that if I just want to unwind to, I like that, that kind of thing. A lot of soul and funk. I don't listen to loads of house in the car because I'm making it all day, every day. So you don't necessarily, obviously I check my mixes, I'll listen to a whole load of new records, but I won't hear a house record and then play it religiously again and again and again. Like I probably would maybe soul and stuff like that. But yeah.
Emails come in, tons of promos. How do you balance that? The DJ introducing new music into his sets.
Yeah, now that's an interesting one, because probably like you, I now get so many promos, I physically couldn't look through every single one. So I look out for the labels that I know the quality is going to be there. For example, Glitterbox, Defected. I'm just saying the obvious ones. There's lots of others. And then what I tend to do is I will just go to TrackSource and I will look through all the new releases and I will just buy them. I don't have a problem with buying records. As far as I'm concerned, I'm supporting other people, and I don't have to have that, you know, free one. If there's a record I've heard, I will go out of my way to try and get from the person so I can play it out that weekend like we do. But generally, I think sometimes it's quicker just to go through Traxsource and find the records, buy the records, because you know, there's a lot of.
Could you imagine like what Pete Tong gets? If we're getting 400 or 500 records a week, what
I don't
in
know how he
hell's
does it.
God's name is BBC guys getting? I say this, he must be getting 100,000 records a week.
Well, luckily enough, he's got one or two producers who can sift through those records.
Funnel it down.
Yeah. But that is the problem when we're sending our records to people like Pete Tong and Annie Mac and that, because we don't even know if those records even reach her. Because
Bingo. I'm so glad.
They get stopped at the producer, who the producer might, you know, well, if he's not in at the moment, we're not in. I'm not saying that's the case, but sometimes that, you know, that can happen.
Let's go back to Love Groove Radio Show. Good old Louis Dean used to call him up and say, records on their way over. He knew they were coming. Rampling would have him on a Friday night if he loved it, because they were so close to what was going on in the street.
Yeah.
How does a new up and coming producer deal with trying to get his music heard? What's that like? What do you think that's like for someone?
Yeah. I don't think it's got any easier. I don't think it's got any easier, really. I mean, beforehand we'd have the white label, and if you had the money, or you saved up all your money to press 1,000 white labels,
right, saved up.
You know, the record shop would put them, you know, under the counter for certain DJs. For example, Danny Rampling, you know, right, we know he's going to play it on Love Groove Dance Party. Yep, bang, whatever, if he likes it, obviously. But it will get to the right people. It is a bit harder now. But I think it's a lot of persistence. But if I'm really honest, is that I think that, you know, getting your records on Traxsource or Beatport, if that record is good, it will climb. It will go up on its own merit, because your best audience are DJs. You know, I've seen records, even had one or two records that record companies have completely turned down, and I've seen, you know, they turned down big records. The DJ or producer has put them out on his own little white label, and nowadays he will then just put on his own label and put on Traxsource, and they've blown up and they've gone to 1 or 2. And it's the power of the DJ, because, you know, we're not listening so intently to, we're flicking through the records. That's good. I like that. Like, you know, it's a different sort of situation.
We're not clinically listening to it. Do you miss that? I used to call the gentleman's what would I call that place? It's like the barber shop. It's like the record shop was like the hangout. It was the faction of ideas, kinetic energy. Records blew up from there. Do you really miss that?
I do. Yeah, I used to love it. I think it was every Thursday I would go up to London, to Uptown Records and Black Market. They're the two, well, one of the two of them. And I used
Undoubtedly Street.
Yeah. And I'd spend an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours maybe up there chatting to other DJs, meeting new people. Because especially, you know, DJs that might have been on Radio 1, and then suddenly they're standing by the side of you, or Kiss, and you're like, oh, that's such and such. And you're like, you have to sort of say, oh, hello, you know, thanks for playing my record, or something like that. And you're also seeing you can see what they're checking out, and vice versa. It's quite interesting. You think, there's a buzz on this record. Yeah, I think this is good. This is really good, because you can see so many people, you know, are jumping on a certain tune. And I do miss that. And it was a real social thing. It is a shame we haven't got that now. However, on saying that, I don't want to harp about the past, because I feel as if now just having everything on a memory stick is so much easier getting.
Yes. Yes, your back is not hurting anymore from those record boxes.
Do you know the worst thing though, Lenny? I used to hate, and John and I had this quite a few times. You go to Ibiza, and especially in the 90s, if you were only going for one night, you would have to get 2 flights. You know, it was only the package deals that would let you go for a whole, you know, go direct if you were going for a whole week or something. So we'd get on the first plane, our records would get loaded on, and equipment, because we used to do a sampling set and live thing as well. And then we get on the next plane at Barcelona, the Connection, for example. We get to Ibiza, we're waiting for that turnstile going around, and the records come through, for example, and none of the equipment, or the other way around, all the equipment comes through and the records, and then you'll find out that they're still back in Barcelona. And then the classic, they always say to you, or used to say, don't worry, you'll have them for tomorrow. And you're like, but I'm playing tonight.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
And what's that feeling? What's the feeling in your chest when they say that to you?
It's feel like someone's ripped out your, it's awful. But, you know, I've had it where, you know, the promoter said, well, would you like to go through the resident DJ's record, see what he's got if you want to play those? But it's not the same, is it? It's just not the same. Call me a snob, but it's not.
I know exactly. Okay, so now we go to the worst gig of all time to the greatest gig. We all have had them. The worst gig to the greatest gig.
Oh, I've had a few. A few of both.
Well, give us one of the worst and one of the greatest. Because you know what the problem is before you say anything? People think everything we do is completely glamorous. It ain't.
It is, no.
Hey.
I think that I mean, it's so weird how you can DJ to, you know, one week, one Saturday, you're DJing to, let's say, a absolutely packed room. And then you go to a club the week later, different place, and there's 50 people in there. And you think, oh, how did that happen? And it's soul destroying, but you're still going to make sure those 50 people enjoy themselves. So you're going to do that, whatever happens. But that doesn't happen, thank God, very often, but it does happen. And it's a knock to the ego. But then, you know, I've had people turn around to me and they've said, don't worry, trust me, this DJ, that DJ also had the same as you. It's not just you. And these are big DJs. So it does happen if it's badly promoted, or, you know, there's dirty tricks from another club up the road.
Management.
Ripped all their posters down. I mean, I've had that. Management. It's all sorts of different things. But I've been blessed to have so many great gigs. Some of my best gigs, I've got to be honest, have been the tiny, small gigs. One particular I used to love playing as Full Intention with John was out in the sticks, which is in sort of, it's between Manchester and Yorkshire, I suppose you'd say,
Right.
It's fantastic. But people had to literally travel for miles. No one could just rock up outside. You had to make a pilgrimage to get there, but you had everybody ready to seriously party and want to hear really up front. You know, no point playing a few old favorites. They wanted to hear the new stuff, which was a fantastic buzz. I love that. And then obviously Ibiza goes without saying. Playing in Ibiza for Glitterbox is a huge buzz, huge.
Well, you've been lucky because I haven't been invited yet to play that.
Oh, you'll get an invite, I'm sure. But, yeah. I don't get invited.
Invitation's been closed. Lenny's not allowed to play here. We don't need his kind. We don't want his kind here.
Do you know what? Do you know, it's quite funny, but you get that. I find you get that with other things. I've had things where I see DJs book and they don't book you, and it's a weird feeling.
You wonder why. You wonder like why, but you know why. You just wonder why.
Sometimes it's just like then other DJs say, "Oh, how'd you get that booking?" And it swings and roundabouts.
I had a funny moment with Marshall. I said to Marshall, "Can you tell us, to a new aspiring record producer DJ, what to do and what not to do?" And you know, he yelled out, he said, "Don't remix. Do your own stuff. Don't waste all your great ideas on remixes."
He's got a good point there, yeah.
So that was Marshall, because Marshall's, you know, we all know the godfather of house music. Marshall's a funny mother. We love him. He's in Millbrook and Penn City. Yeah. Oh, God. He's one of the boys. One of the boys. Yeah. So you're talking to now a lot of people. I don't know how much our reach is right now. People who are just coming into this game. You know, what's their in to get seen? What would you say to someone like your son? If your son said to your dad, you know, I really want to be like you, I want to make this happen, what would you say to your son? You know, or this new aspiring producer?
I think definitely make records and try and make those records for, you know, the cooler record labels. Try and get those records on, you know, labels that are well respected, seen as cooler, and maybe have a connection with their own club nights, because you need the two together. You can be a brilliant DJ on your own, of course, and made no records, but I do think it helps still having a, you know, a couple of good, whether they're underground records or whether they're full-blown vocal records. You need that. You need the two to go hand in hand, certainly to start with, and persistence. You've got to be so persistent with, and not giving up even when you feel like throwing the whole towel in. Just keep at it.
And we've all been down that road.
Oh,
we've all been down that road where we feel like this shit ain't working. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's take ourselves right off the top tier and drop down 2 tiers and go, what are we missing here? Something changed? Did somebody forget to mention?
Yeah, the funny thing, someone said to me years ago, when you're hot, you're hot. When you're not, you're not. That's what I've had a few.
There's no lukewarm in this game. It's like, I ain't lukewarm. What do you mean lukewarm? Well,
Yeah.
you're kind of close. Close means you're just not quite there, young man. Step down. Step down.
But because we love it so much, you don't give up. And you know, and I learn something new every single day in the studio, or just generally, you know, and the whole social media. I think I was very late to come into that. I'm thinking, oh, do I really want to tweet about how great my new kick drum is? Do I really want to stop and say, oh, fantastic?
Yeah, tell that to people. What was that like coming pre-social media?
But
thank you for bringing that up. I hated it when it started. Did you have to, what was it like for you to assimilate to this new technology called a smart ass phone that needs to know every move you make? I went to the bathroom. It was great. I went to go get a cup of coffee. This is fabulous. What was that like for you to have to?
Yeah, well, some people are good at it, aren't they? Some people are real. They love the gossip. They love saying something controversial. I don't. You know, and I'm not. I kind of, but I'm starting to get into it now, and I'm starting to enjoy it. If there's something that I think, yeah, this will connect, I do find that if I put, you know, like I just film a bit of me working in the studio, that does a lot for me to know whether that record is going to connect with people, because I see from the reactions. If I get a lot of reactions, then I know, oh, I've got something here. I'm going to crack on with this and get this finished, you know. And that does really work. And that's on Instagram and Facebook. So, you know, I regret being a bit late into that, to be quite honest. So I'm catching up quite quickly now, luckily. But, you know, this is someone who was very much into MySpace, and, you know, I was thinking, well, I've got my 500,000 followers on MySpace. What more do I need? You know, and then you realize actually that's dying out. And then,
what is that? What do you say?
One of the reasons I didn't, yeah, I know. And one of the reasons I was late on Facebook as well, because I actually, sometimes it can cause a problem socially within your family or with the person you're going out with when you play a club. And, you know, you'll get chatting to people, someone will have their photo taken. Before you know it, they've put it on your feed or whatever, on Facebook, and your partner's saying to you, who's this girl who said she was hanging out with you last night? You know, what's that? And it causes a lot of problem. You think, actually, I wasn't at all. And that's why you have to be so careful. It can cause, you know, because it's hard for that your partner who's, you know, your girlfriend's who's your wife who's at home looking after the kids, and they're wonder what he's up to, and then you get a picture like that come in, just completely causes a problem. Not causes a problem, can cause a little bit of tension. You know, and
so now you're basically, what you're saying is that you have to backpedal your way out of this "what the hell happened here" moment.
Yeah, you're
and explain something, guilty of a crime that you didn't commit, only because you were standing there. Is that what you're trying to tell everybody?
If you have your picture taken, you know, that sort of thing, and you have to be so careful, because to me, the most important thing for me is playing the records, going to a club. The buzz for me is going to a club, playing the records I want to play, and coming home thinking, I played that record, I played that one, and that real buzz, I tested that one, I did that. That's the buzz for me. It's not about going out and seeing how many girls I could pull or something. It was certainly not my age now anyway, but I'm just saying it never was. That wasn't the thing. That for maybe some DJs, it's like that's part of the thing. Who I'm going to pull. take home. But it's
Let
not.
me ask you an in detail question to this, because this is always asked of me. Now I'm going to tell you what happens with me in my booth. Many times I'm been like the Forrest Gump. I was at the garage. I remember seeing certain people come in the booth, or I was at this club hanging out. The drugs that are all around us.
Oh yeah.
The alcohol that's around us. When you are a celebrity in our world of music, the first thing they'll ask you is, do you need something to make you feel better, to make you more loose, in the quotations, comfortable about getting ready to perform? Was that ever necessary for you to do for your work environment? Not in the studio, I'm talking about in the nightclub.
Yeah, no, I did. I kind of have this thing. I'll have one or two vodkas before I play normally. That's it. And I find that I can't, or that sounds really boring, doesn't it? But that's the way it is. I find that I have to go onto the, playing tunes, knowing exactly where I am, where everybody is on that dance floor. I don't want to look out in a haze. After about 4 or 5 records, and I feel I've got everybody together, then the bottle of vodka I might dip into a little bit. Sometimes a bit too much. When you're doing
I hear you. It's okay. We all get loose. We're having a good time. Our friends are with us.
Yeah,
it's all part of the course.
But I remember once playing in Ibiza, and it's one of my first times, I think, and I didn't realize that all their measures are double instantly. So I thought, I'll have 3 vodkas before I go on, which is really 6 vodkas. And I remember going on and thinking, oh, the turntables all look, because this turntable, that's even hard. You have to really keep your wits about you, about queuing up and thinking, this is not good. I don't know.
This is not good, right? Things are starting to feel a little funky.
Yeah. How am I going to get through the first half hour, an hour? I need to sober up really fast. But little things like that. And so ever since then, I thought, no, it's not. And it doesn't look good to see a DJ absolutely smash before he goes. It's good, really. It's not a great advert.
Well, I've actually experienced seeing Larry Levan collapse many times, and a lot of people have, because they were just so high. I just said to myself, I can't do this. First of all, back in the day, in the 80s, the turntables in the Richard consoles were on rubber bands. So if you're drunk, now you got a thing moving like this, your turntable's moving like this, and everything's moving. How do you, how do you work under those conditions?
Well, Ministry of Sound, the box.
Yeah.
A lot of DJs will remember that they were all sprung loaded. All those turntables were sprung loaded. And you had to be seriously sober to play your first couple of records, particularly your acetates, because they were so brittle. For people who don't know what acetate is, very brittle piece of vinyl that cost you about £70 just to master your one track to test out. That was the way we did it. We didn't have CDs so back then. And it was really nerve-wracking, thinking, if I don't cue this up on the last 16 bars of that record going, we're just going to have silence. So you had to really be sober to, until you got into the whole swing of things. Let's put it that.
Did that ever happen? A record ran out because you were talking to people in the booth? Because it's happened to me once in a while.
It happens in my dreams. It happens in my dreams. And I don't know if you've had that. I remember the first time that we were asked to play Ministry of Sound. The night before, I had a nightmare that I couldn't choose the next record. I was just, and you could see it come to the end, and I couldn't think, what shall I have next? And you're going into your record box and you just can't find it. And then it just went to Ed, and everybody was cheering. This is a dream, it was awful. And you're like, and you cannot physically think of what record to play.
Fuck, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, and that dream comes around about every 5 years, I would say. But thank God it hasn't. But I have been in the ministry when that has happened to a certain DJ who played Jazz It Up. Do you remember that record, I Want to Jazz It Up? On Strictly?
Barbara Tucker, yeah.
Oh, Barbara Tucker, yeah, of course, Barbara.
Boom, 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 boom. Eric Ruhl, Jazz It Up.
I remember when it first got played. I'm not going to say the DJ who played it, but I seriously respect it. But it was funny.
English or American? I'm
afraid he was American. Sorry.
That's okay. I'm afraid.
I was on the dance floor. I was loving it. I thought, oh, this record is amazing. And then suddenly you just heard it a whole lot fade out, just completely fade. And then you heard him pick it up and put it on at the beginning again. But it was only about, that record was only about 4 4.5 minutes long, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So in fairness, but I thought, well, you know, it didn't matter. It was like a rewind, really, and everybody cheered and danced to
I've
it.
done that many times myself. Pick the needle up and go, boom.
Yeah.
What happens is, I've always said the nightclub booth, especially Ministry's booth, was pretty big. So everybody's coming up in the booth. They want to hang out with you. You're trying to play bartender or DJ because you know what you're doing. You're going like this. You're talking to people. You're like, hang on 1 second. I'm going to do the next. And they're all going like this. They all want to get to you at this point. Meanwhile, you saw me on the side. You didn't want to talk to me. But now all of a sudden, because now I'm DJing, you need to annoy me right now.
That's so true.
Right?
So
I've done that. I've gone this. I said to somebody, you know what? You need to stop. You see there's 2,000 people in front of me. You now want to speak to you. Could have spoke to me for an hour, but you have to now go like this. How do you deal with that, Mike? Tell them.
It's amazing when there's a bottle of vodka on your rider sitting there, that how many friends you will suddenly get, like just like that. It's incredible. But yeah, I'm kind of pretty good with it. I'm normally okay with people backwards and forwards. I don't mind too much. It's only when people are getting really drunk and you can see the arms swaying to
yeah, they're going.
You know, and you're just having to move their arm very slightly, or the punter who's off his face and literally shouting in your ear, saying how much he loves your last remix or something. Now's not the time, and it's so hot. He's shouting so much that you're getting real earache, and you're going like that, and you think, someone just please take him away, because you don't want to offend him, because he might get all, you know.
You need booth police. That's when you need a copper in the booth to play the play the guy that says step back, step back.
Yeah.
You know, people don't understand that. We're in the middle of working a set. Crowd's going crazy. You're trying to stay on point, and you got an idiot screaming at you going, I love you! I love you! It's like, yo, dude, get him out of the booth, please. Yeah. It's like, and you don't want to be
your ears
mean.
are just going completely deaf from it, and I don't know.
How about
Maybe
this one?
Polite.
Have you ever had someone come up to you and say, now, this has happened to, I guess, to almost a lot of DJs. Places packed. People going crazy. You got the hottest record in the game, and someone says to you, do you got anything different? Or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've had it when someone's come up and say, can you play some R&B?
Yeah. Can you R&B, hip-hop?
What planet are you on? You can see it's clearly a house.
You're like, yeah. But how do you handle that? What do? You tell them to leave the booth?
It's the quickest way they can piss you off in seconds. You're on an absolute high, and then someone asks for R&B, and they think they're cool. They think they're actually being really cool. You think, well, you're funny, but this is not a commercial club. It's not where we play a bit of everything. It's a straight up house club, or some pop track. You know, I don't know.
Can you play something good?
Yeah,
Can you play something good?
Yeah, luckily, I haven't had that for some time. Normally, most people, but it's the ones who think they're really cool
or cheeky
selecting something like that, and you think, no, you're the opposite of that.
Bingo.
Idea what's going on.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Yo, so I mean, we've covered so many different things. One of the last few things I'm going to ask you, because I know you're a busy man, you got a family. I don't want to hold you up any longer, and you've been so polite to deal with all my crazy questions. Where do you see yourself the next 5 to 7, 10 years forward? What's Michael Gray visualizing? What's going to be the future for him?
I would say just doing. I'm so happy what I'm doing at the moment that I would like to hopefully keep the consistency up, if not take it higher. But I really want to, and I've already started writing, co-writing a lot more original disco songs, or songs, house songs, whatever you want to call them. That is a real buzz for me, and that's very much where my heart is. I love remixing records and stuff, but that's what I'd like to do. I think I don't expect to have any more hit records, because especially in the UK, you're not going to get on the playlist if you're over 30. it's not going to happen on a, you know, on a major station playlist. So there's no point kidding myself. But in terms of just generally, just music, just making good dance music, because that is the backbone, always has been for me. It's never let me down, always been there when things are bad. Dance music and making it and playing it has always been the savior, to be quite honest.
Awesome. Well, children, you've heard it from one of our masters, Michael Gray. He has broke it down every which way. We have given him question after question, and he has been battered, beaten, and broke us down. He get right back to us with all the great answers, and even gave us some education on, you know, what makes him tick, why he does what he does. I can't thank him enough. And, you know, he is an inspiration to a whole new generation of producers and DJs. His story is incredible. The music alone, without him even talking, if he was just to speak through all the records that he's touched over his time as a producer, is enough to say it all. But to also be part of, you know, the DJ, the father, remixer, songwriter. I mean, he's got a testament that is well preserved.
Oh,
it's golden. Doesn't go nowhere except stay there, and has now shown he wanted to make something that would be transcending and played every weekend. Well, for God's sake, he has. He gave us Michael Gray The Weekend, so we can hear it over and over. And every time I play it, I'll tell you the truth, I still get that buzz. I love that record. There's a couple records, Shapeshifters record, Lola's Theme, that one. There's a few records that no matter, I want, like Frankie used to tell me, when you want that lift, Frankie Knuckles, you play certain records. There's certain records where I don't care how many great records you're playing, you just want that lift. Boom. Michael Gray's Weekend, this record, that record. And, you know, and not every record we do is great, but there is ones that we do all have that are close to dear to our heart. And I want to thank him again, Mr. Michael Gray. Thank you so much.
It's good to speak.
We love you. You are the UK heritage to house music. You are definitely a heritage to it. You are definitely golden, and you keep doing what you're doing. You're inspiring us. Hey, I'll tell you what, you've even given me great advice over the years when I felt like I didn't want to do it anymore. And you remember I told you I didn't want to do it either.
Yeah.
And I said the same thing. I said, I'm tired of this crap. I'm really tired of it.
Yeah.
You know, because we feel sometimes we feel like we're batting, like we're like salmon, upstreaming it. You know, how much can you take after we go, oh, this is just too much to do music?
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, absolutely. You're always going to get highs and lows in this thing, but we're gonna say a wonderful good night. And also, I'm gonna ask you one last question. Do you think this vaccination is going to work for all of us for this pandemic? It better. God. We need to go back to normality quick. Oh yeah, that's the only cure. Is the vaccination. It'll happen. It will happen.
All right. Well, thank you again, Mr. Michael Gray. Full Intention, Hustlers Convention, good intention, full intention, great intentions. All the power to you. Get another Grammy. And you know what? I'm going to just correct you on one thing.
Yeah.
You may produce a record with a young artist, and all of a sudden you may get A-list Radio 1. It can happen. It doesn't necessarily mean that Michael Gray has to be the front artist.
Oh, yeah. I'm not bothered by
that. You could still make that record that all of a sudden goes, holy smoke, look what I got. Another big golden record. Here it is again.
You never know, do you? You never know. It's the thing is the best thing is to not try too hard. And then
don't go in there thinking about it.
Yeah.
Don't go in there thinking. Marshall said the same thing. If we thought we were going to sit down every time and write hit records, we wouldn't have did nothing. We just did records we felt we just wanted you to dance to.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Oh,
well, everyone.
Good to speak to you, Lenny.
Thank you again. Next Wednesday, Natasha Kitty Cat. A little meow for us. Little little glitter box kitty cat. We're bringing some of the women from the UK to step up and talk. So tune in again to the True House Stories.
And thank you for everybody for watching and joining us.
Oh my God, I can imagine. I mean, you have so many people sending such love, saying, found a cure, full intention remix. Tell Michael to remix Lenny's East Side Movement. I read all kinds of stuff going on. They said, please tell Michael to remix that. Yeah, let Lenny remix, let Mike remix in East Side Movement, Inner City. One last thing. There is plenty of over 30 DJs that get loads of great dance music on top radio channels. I mean, people write all kinds of nice stuff to you, telling you they're just reaffirming the things that you believe in, others believe in as well. You're not the only one. That's just wonderful to see. Kid Cream told us, 2 legends at work right there telling it. We got some old school guys, young Philip West saying, bring out the vodka, baby.
Oh yeah, much love to Philip West. He's
big purveyor of our music.
He's very good for me, Philip West. I've got to say he sorted out my Sylvester remix.
I remember. Good man, that young man, Philip West. Good man. I mean, yeah. Ben Liebran thanked you numerous times. We had people all over the world, Victoria Morgan, Nev Johnson, a lot of the promoters from the nightclub scene checking in with us. I couldn't stop you when you were in the middle of telling us your biblical story. Nick Hawks, Evening Chaps.
Oh, Nick, yeah.
Oh, Lord,
Love Nick. Love Nick.
Fireside chat with Lenny and Mikey next to his. Look at him. He's got his blue fire. Look, he's got fireside chat. Simon Morgan, everybody, including the Shapeshifter came in to say hello. Everybody was in tonight.
Hello,
this is
Simon.
an incredible evening, and it's absolutely, I can't thank you, Christ Almighty, I can't thank you enough for sharing your inner feelings. My God, some of the things you said, I totally understand, and trust me, it's a struggle for all of us to get through this, especially now with a pandemic going on. We all feel isolated.
Yeah.
I'm reaching out to everybody. I'm so glad Kerry called me. Kerry Chandler called me just to ask, how you doing, bro? Are you okay? I was like, yeah, hey man, it's great to hear from you. I'm like, do you feel like you're in your own island? It's nice, everybody's reaching out.
We are so lucky as well at the moment. If this was 20 years ago, we would not be able to even see each other like this. You know, this is, thank God for social media. So after us having that conversation, because it'll be a very different story. It'll be no virtual gigs or, virtual festivals.
I'll tell you what, I'll give you one word I would have did. I would have drew you a picture with my crayon and faxed it over of my face and say, hi, Mike, how you doing?
That's a blast from the past, isn't it?
Faxed you the contract. We'll send you over the heads agreement. What's your fax number?
I don't miss that.
No, God, no. But I tell you what I do miss. I do miss the listening parties at the record labels that we used to all go to. Those were a lot of fun. And I also miss the record shop. That was even not just buying the records, but just hanging out. It was just awesome.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to, when all this pandemic is, we've got the cure, I'd definitely like to come back over to New York, and I'll come over and see you. And got to go on this time of maybe work this time as well.
Well, the studio needs you here to bless the SSL, as we always love to have. You know that.
Nice studio.
Touch everything. All right, so every week, every Wednesday, we're trying to do something different. And this week was Michael Gray. Thank you again.